update you on all the running stories, and connect you to the newsmakers.
Citi News.
97.3 Citi FM. You're welcome to the Tuesday's edition of the Citi Prime News. We're broadcasting live from our studio in Accra. Coming up this afternoon, Cabinet holds emergency meeting tomorrow as President Mahama seeks answers to the cocoa board crisis. Meanwhile, cocoa farmers to stage nationwide demonstration if cocoa board fails to pay debt owed them by next week.
We are waiting by the close of this week. If you don't hear anything, if you don't hear any payment going on, then definitely from next week you will hear from us. We'll go on demonstration.
Also in this bulletin, support for Baba Jamal as committee investigating vote buying allegations in recent Ayawasu East NDC parliamentary primary submits its report today.
They feel that they have to investigate it. So they are doing that. That's why we say we back those investigations. They should do it because we as executives, in fact, we are all on the grounds, on the field where the voting was taking place, though we did not see anything.
And later on this edition of the Citi Prime News, no outbreak of bird flu as Brekum West Agric Department dismisses reports following the death of 5,000 birds on a farm.
We don't have bird flu in Brekum West. As I speak to you, we only have a farmer who brought deals and couldn't feed them.
All that and more coming up in this edition of the Citi Prime News, which is also live in the Western region on Premier 100.5 FM, Sky Power at 93.5 FM, and Beach 105.5 FM, all in Takrady. The news is live in the Bono region on J Live 95.5 FM in Sunyai. In the Ashanti region, we're on Orange FM 107.9 in Kumasi. And in the Volta region, the Citi Prime News is on Akwini Radio 96.7 FM in Kwando and Heritage FM 107.3 in Hohoi.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Grateful to you this afternoon. I'm Charles Osukumi. Let's get straight into the bulletin, and we begin with the cocoa board crisis. President John Dramani Mahama has called for an emergency cabinet meeting tomorrow to address these challenges in cocoa board. Our presidential correspondent Akosia Otre is joining us on the telephone for more on this. Good afternoon to you, Akosia. This meeting tomorrow, what are we expecting to happen?
All right, Charles, good afternoon. The emergency cabinet session will bring together ministers and government officials to essentially chart a course for immediate interventions, including measures to ensure timely payments to farmers. We know that the minority launched a scathing critique of the government and cocoa board, alleging failure to pay some 10 billion cedis, an estimation of that for produce delivered since November last year. And this has been a key issue that has been in the topic in the news. In fact, it's not just the minority that has been speaking. The cocoa cooperatives have also been speaking about it. And we are told that the president, upon his return from Zambia, has been deeply been worried about the ongoing happenings and summoned ministers for tomorrow's meeting. Now, we know that cabinet already sits every Wednesday, but this is going to be a very crucial one because the cocoa sector issues are becoming serious and dire day after day. And so this, we expect concrete solutions to be laid on the table tomorrow, as there will be key sector players, including the agriculture minister, the minister of finance, and some key government officials. Charles.
Well, the cocoa board CEO, Randy Abe, has come under immense pressure these past few days. We're expecting that he will be at this cabinet meeting. Are you picking any reports that his office is probably under threat?
All right, so Charles, we have not been given any indication that the cocoa board CEO, Dr. Randy Abe, is going to be in the meeting. It's going to be a strictly cabinet meeting, which means that ministers of state who are part of the cabinet will be there. But we have been given a brief that the Cocoa Board CEO has already briefed the president on issues that are emerging. And so that side of that conversation with the Cocoa Board CEO has already been exhausted. And so now cabinet would have to meet to take a critical decision on the matters arising.
All right, Akuza, finally, before you go, are we expecting government communications to come out with any statement on the threats by the cocoa farmers to go on a demonstration next week if they don't get their monies?
Well, with regards to the protest, we know that's also part of the conversation that will go on tomorrow. We are not given any indication that there would be a press statement, but I'm sure that the Minister in charge of Government Communication will be speaking to the media after tomorrow's cabinet meeting to give us a brief of what transpired in the cabinet meeting and the resolutions thereafter.
All right, grateful to you, Akwesi Otrey. She is our presidential correspondent reporting to us from the Jubilee House. We are just mentioning that the cocoa farmers are planning a nationwide demonstration next week. They say if government fails to pay them by the end of the week. Well, the growers say they are facing severe financial distress due to the government's failure to settle months of unpaid fees for cocoa being supplied to a cocoa board dating back to November 2025. Now, speaking to Citi News, the president of the Mankrong Cocoa Cooperative Farmers Association, Francis Tainio, says the farmers have given the government until the end of the week to make the payment.
The information we are getting from Cocoa Board means that something positive will come. So we are just waiting for them. And you understand that the transaction will take some days because bank transaction sometimes takes 2-3 days to reflect. And for the RBCs to also send money to their district managers to be able to pay farmers will also take some days. So we are waiting by the close of this week. If you don't hear anything, if you don't hear any payment going on, then definitely from next week you will hear from us. We'll go on demonstration.
Well, that was the president of the Mankrong Cocoa Cooperative Farmers Association, Francis Tainio. Well, the Cocoa Board CEO, has been under quite some pressure these past few days. He says a new funding model being developed for cocoa purchases will help restore indigenous licensed buying companies to active participation in the cocoa market. Speaking on the point of view with Bernard Avle, the Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Randy Abe, says the proposed arrangement will strengthen the sustainability of the cocoa sector and ensure broader local participation across the value chain.
The new funding model that we are looking at is a funding model that will allow us to optimize the use of our processing capacity. That is what we are looking at. So we are looking at one that, and this particular funding model also is actually killing a lot of the indigenous LBCs. Because in the LBC space, we've also allowed the buyers, the big buyers, to also set up. And so now the buyers even nominate which LBC to work with. You understand me? So you have a lot of the indigenous LBCs who are out of business because there's no longer any seed money for them to go out and do business. So we are looking at a new funding model that guarantees that the indigenous LBCs are in business. That too guarantees that we can fully utilize our processing capacity. So that is what we are working at. And a funding model that will also ensure that you don't have a situation where the buyers are those who dictate when you have money and when you shouldn't have money. And therefore, you can have the situation that we are having now with respect to no liquidity in the system. There's no liquidity simply because the buyers find our crop as too expensive on the basis of the current price.
You heard the CEO of Cocoa Board, Dr. Randy Abe. Well, away from Cocoa Board issues, the committee set up by the National Democratic Congress to investigate allegations of vote buying during the Ayawaso East parliamentary primary is expected to submit its report today. The three-member panel was tasked with probing claims of inducement during the February 7 contest. Speaking to Citi News, committee member Inusa Fuseni says appropriate recommendations will be made to the party.
A fact-finding committee, and so we are gathering evidence. And to gather evidence, we must speak to all persons who were connected with the Ayawaso East constituency elections. And so we're speaking to the party representatives who supervise the elections. we're speaking to the candidates, we're speaking to some constituency executives, we're speaking to regional executives. We'll make recommendations, and it's a committee of FEC, so we'll make recommendations to FEC.
Inusa Husseini is a member of the committee set up by the NDC to investigate allegations of inducements and vote buying during the Ayawaso East parliamentary primaries held on Saturday. We're keeping tabs on that one. We'll bring you the fallout from that presentation later today. Let's move away from Ayawaso East. The Director General of Ghana's National Road Safety Authority, Abraham Amaliba, has reiterated that the operation of tricycles, known locally as aboboya, remains illegal under existing road traffic laws. He explains that the absence of specific laws and guidelines makes regulation and enforcement difficult. Speaking on the Citi Breakfast Show, Abraham Amaliba says that the authority cannot fully regulate tricycles until appropriate legislation is formally introduced.
And we are on to remove the law regulating the aboboya, the trade. We will need the regulation. The president as well as sign it into law. So they are still illegal as we speak. An aboboya carrying fuel, in my view, is wrong because that facility is not appropriately used. It cannot be appropriately used to carry fuel. That's the first thing. The second thing is that it borders on enforcement. So I would have expected that the police would intercept this aboboya and then impound the aboboya. But for now, because they have not yet come into full stream and they have not been legalized, my institution does not regulate them yet. It is about enforcement, and the police should have intercepted them and arrested them.
Well, he adds that the National Road Safety Authority has begun a citywide exercise to remove illegal billboards from road medians, warning that owners of offending billboards will be sanctioned.
And we are on to remove those medians. Now, we looked at here, continued early this year. They were at school junction, at St. School Junction towards Nanakrom. We ended at Junction, but we'll continue on Friday to Nanakrom. Is that we are going to form a team of schools go to various parts of the city, and there will be 3 teams. The issue is that the billboards are so many, and we will need more hands to do this. And so we'll need more hands to go out and do this thing. The major one is going to be from Art Center through the ministries to 37 towards Adenta. And that is going to be done in collaboration with the Highways Authority.
That was the voice of the Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, Abraham Amaliba. Away from that, a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asante, has disagreed with a proposal by former Majority Leader Osei Mensah-Bonsu calling for the NPP to organize selective parliamentary primaries. The former Swami MP had suggested that the NPP should build consensus to protect the parliamentary seats it currently holds. However, in an interview with Citi News, Dr. Asante argued that implementing such a proposal could instead harm the party's fortunes in the next general elections.
This proposal will rather undermine the numbers there in Parliament, because they will get people angry that you want to keep people there for as long as you think you deem fit. And what about they who are in the queue and looking for opportunity to go and serve their people? Why is he afraid of election? Election is one of the renewal processes within the political space, that it brings in new energies and it also take away redundant or non-performing MPs, so that the House will always be people who will be the people that the whole society want them to be. It is not something that a few group of people would deem it fit that and suggest that, this person, that person, we want to maintain him as against the general interest of the populace. I'm afraid that his idea, yes, he has come out with it, but it will not inure to the benefit of the party.
That was a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asa Sante, you're still listening to the City Prime News on 97.3 City FM. We're broadcasting from our studios here in Accra. I am Charles Osukumi. The City Prime News is also live in the northern region on Dasuma 99.1 FM in Yendi. In the Upper East region, we're on Word FM 88.3 FM in Zwarungu and Boga 102.7 FM in Boga Tanga. We're also on Gunzang 90.1 FM in Tongo. In the Upper West region, the news is live on Westlink 88.1 FM in Laura and Pupili 92.7 FM in Wa. We are also in the Northeast region on Eagle FM 94.1 in Wale Wale. Still ahead, no outbreak of bird flu as Brekum West Agri Department dismisses reports following the death of 5,000 birds on a farm. We have details in a bit. Please don't go away.
City Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
We are gearing up for the trip of a lifetime. Heritage Caravan 2026. From 1st to 8th March 2026, 8 days, 14 regions, 1 legendary caravan. We're touring Ghana in the most spectacular way on the Heritage Caravan, exploring the beauty, history, and stories that make our nation unique. Rolling out from Greater Accra through Eastern and OT, up north to the Northern and Upper East, and all the way to the Western region, hitting iconic destinations across Ghana. The Heritage Caravan 2026 will be fun, educative, refreshing, and most of all, remarkable. Stay connected. Follow Channel 1 TV and 97.3 City FM across all social media platforms for updates and join the conversation using the hashtag Heritage Caravan 2026. The Heritage Caravan 2026 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from City FM.
And it's proudly sponsored by Holland Insurance, Piva Beverages, Omni Basic Bank, Caveman Watches, Gino, Didi Sheto, Goyle, Minimi Achumo, and Admi Granite Paste. And it's supported by Nanes Rice.
Heritage Caravan 2026. Experience Ghana like never before.
City Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back. This is the City Prime News on 97.3 City FM. I am Charles Osukumi. Let's return to the Ayawaso East constituency because the NDC executives there say they fully back the election of Baba Jamal as the party's parliamentary candidate for the March 3 by-election. Baba Jamal has come under fire over allegations of vote buying and inducement during the February 7 primary. Now speaking to City News, the constituency secretary, Mohammed Sariki, said Baba Jamal was duly elected.
The primaries that we had, he emerged as a winner. You understand me? He emerged as a winner. There was no violence. There was nothing over there on the field. We don't have any vote buying or any money exchanging hands on the field. So our national executives at the national national level, well, the videos and then all those things going around, they feel that they have to investigate it. So they are doing. That's why we say we back those investigations. They should do it because we as executives, in fact, we are all on the grounds, on the field where the voting was taking place, though we did not see anything over there. So those this thing going around, the videos, the viral videos going around, that was what the national executive said they are going to investigate. So we await the investigation, the final investigation.
Mohammed Sariki is NDC Constituency Secretary for the Ayawaso East. Away from politics, the Department of Agri in the Brekum West District of the Bunu region has dismissed reports suggesting the presence of bird flu in the district. Now, this follows the death of 5,000 birds at a poultry farm in the area, which some media reports attributed to the outbreak of bird flu. However, the District Director for Agriculture for Brekum West, Frederick Kwesi Danso, has refuted these claims.
We don't have bird flu in Brekum West. As I speak to you, we only have a farmer who brought deos and couldn't feed them. The farmer was overwhelmed. He brought 10,000 day-old broilers. Broilers are the species of birds that consume the highest amount of feed. When the birds got to 2 weeks to 3 weeks old, the amount of feed these birds were consuming overwhelmed the farmer. And instead of him seeking other alternatives, source of feeding, or maybe raising funds to feed the bird, he relaxed. And then he also an absentee farmer. He's not in the district. When I spoke to him, he said he's based in Accra. So when the guys, his employees, were complaining that the feed the birds are eating is exhausted or is finished, these guys thought the guys were lying, and he refused to bring money for them to prepare another feed. He also didn't pay these guys for a good 1 month. So the guys abandoned the farm without feed and then without water. So these birds had to die.
You heard the voice of the District Director for Agriculture for the Brekum West District, Frederick Kwesi Danso. Now, the government is expected to complete the Azumah Nelson Sports Complex by the end of 2026. The Chief Executive Officer for the National Youth Authority, Osman Ayarga, says the complex, whose construction began in 2018, will be completed alongside one other facility. Speaking to Citi News after an inspection visit, Osman Ayarga explained the critical sections of the facility, including the administration block, are nearing completion.
Hopefully, we are looking at the contractor resuming sites as soon as possible, maybe even before the end of this month. We hope that the contractor will be able to resume site. We hope to complete the entire sports complex before end of year, thanks to the capital injection again from the Ministry of Finance, thanks to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, which has been given to the National Youth Authority. He is very passionate about completing the Azumah Nelson Sports Complex. Not only this complex, but also the youth resource centers across the country. Currently, we have 8 youth resource centers across the country at various stages of completion. So the promise was to try and complete minimum of 2 this year, looking at completing the Azumah Nelson Sports Complex one and also one in any other region. That's minimum. So if you're able to go beyond 2, would love to do that. And of course, this couldn't have been possible without the immense support from His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Now, Osman Ayarga, however, noted that the total cost of construction of the Azumah Nelson Sports Complex will be disclosed after the project is fully completed.
I wouldn't want to take the wind out of the sails since we're already engaging the consultant to give us the figures. The figures have not yet come back to me. So I wouldn't want to go into figures that I would find it very difficult to defend in the future. So I would rather ask us to be a bit patient. If I have the full figures from the consultant, if we need to go to the right legal processes to have it approved, the entire public will be aware. If we have to advertise it, we have to announce it, we will do that. Everybody will be aware that this is what we need to complete it. This is the figure that we need. This is what government is giving us, and this is when we'll be able to complete it.
That was the Chief Executive of the National Youth Authority, Osman Ayarga. Now, the Municipal Chief Executive for Ayawaso West, Dr. Michael Mensah, has clarified that no building has been constructed under the East Legon overpass. His comments follow an order by the Greater Accra Regional Minister Lindo Klu to halt construction activities over safety and planning concerns. But speaking on the City Breakfast Show, Dr. Mensah says the Assembly only approved plans to use the space as a car park, fire service station, washing bay, and police post to improve parking and security for visitors.
I have indicated that the person developing the place is supposed to liaise with Urban Road on the final design. And I think that is where problem is. The person didn't liaise with Urban Road for the final design. And that is where the
fair enough. So when the regional minister came to order the demolition, I'm sure you were called.
I was there.
And you obviously say you did not permit them to put up the glass office because the design didn't come to you.
The final thing was supposed to be done between the person designing, the person constructing or developing that space and Urban Road. but there was no
problem
communication.
Yeah, but
it's something movable. It's a movable office, not a house. It's an office space. It's just a place where they can operate from, and it's something movable.
You heard the Municipal Chief Executive for Ayawaso West, Dr. Michael Mensah. Now to education, Minister for the sector Haruna Idrisu has urged countries to invest more in science education with particular focus on quantum science. He says quantum technology is already supporting agriculture through improved soil and water monitoring and enhanced climate forecasting, making it especially important for countries like Ghana, where agriculture underpins livelihoods and food security. He made a call at the global closing ceremony of the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology.
I understand that access to science is on the decline, and even the number of engineers globally is also declining. I'm sure it reminds us to wake up and invest more in science education, in particular quantum science. Your presence here affirms our shared understanding that knowledge, science, and innovation remain central to human progress. The proclamation of 2025 as the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology by UNESCO signaled the growing importance of quantum science in the modern world. Over the past year, attention has focused not only on discovery, but on the responsibility that accompanies scientific development of our country. We still note that there are major gaps as we observe, and there are about 145 countries that are still without quantum strategies. Quantum tools are also supporting agriculture and food systems through improved sensing for soil and water monitoring and more accurate climate forecasting. For countries where agriculture sustains livelihoods such as Ghana and food security, quantum science remains significant and paramount.
Minister for Education, Haruna Idrisu. At the same event, the president of the Institute of Physics, Michelle Doherty, called for global collaboration, urging Ghana and other global South countries to be innovators rather than just consumers.
And this is very important for me, is to strengthen international collaboration with explicit attention to closing the so-called quantum divide. And it's particularly important to acknowledge the vital role of our hosts here in Ghana. Ghana was not only one of the key champions of the UN proclamation, but it really also embodies one of the central ambitions of the International Year, and that is that the Global South is not merely a consumer of quantum technologies, but an active participant, innovator, and developer. So the IWQ proclamation called on us to ensure that quantum progress bridges divides rather than creating new ones, and also to support a global quantum agenda grounded in inclusion, education, and workforce development, as well as international cooperation.
You heard the voice of the president of the Institute of Physics, Michelle Doherty. Away from that, the Senior Staff Association of Universities of Ghana says it has lost faith in the National Labour Commission over the handling of its ongoing disputes with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. This follows the NLC's directive to the association to call off its strike. On speaking to Citi News, chairperson of the University of Ghana chapter of the association, Gladys Alantia, said the strike remains in full force.
We have lost faith in even the NLC itself, because the way they were handling the issue is not in the best interest of even us and the nation, because the NLC is supposed to be an arbiter, a neutral person. But looking at the way they were dealing with our issue, we were not satisfied that this will be a neutral person to look into our case. If they want us to even suspend our strike pending our negotiation with or engagement with NLC, then they have to ensure that the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission withdraws the letter that they wrote to University of Ghana instructing them to start paying call-in allowance. An issue is still in court, and you have the same person who has the agreement with us gone ahead to write another letter instructing University of Ghana to pay us with something that is still in contention. Is this right? Because you cannot sign a letter or a document, turn around and say that you signed it in error, and the same person turned around to write a secret letter to University of Ghana telling them not to pay us. So for us, unless that particular letter is withdrawn and then our overtime allowance reinstated, we are not returning. Secondly, our tier 2 has to be paid, including the penalty, the 3% penalty, and then the Unimark arrears paid before we can suspend the strike.
That was the chairperson of the University of Ghana chapter of the Senior Staff Association of Universities of Ghana, Gladys Alentia. And finally, before we go, the High Court has dismissed an application by lawyers for former Deputy Director of the National Service Authority, Giftiawara Mensah, seeking a referral to the Supreme Court for constitutional interpretation over provisions in the practice directions for case management in criminal trials. This follows a directive by the court for Giftiawara Mensah to file a list of witnesses she may be minded to call and their addresses in case she is asked to open her defense. Well, that'll be all for this edition of the Citi Prime News, which came to you live from our studios here in Accra. For more news, log on to our website, citynewsroom.com. I am Charles Osukumi. Thank you for your time.
Citi News. We speak first. Reach our hotline on 0302 224959 and get interactive on Facebook, Citi 97.3 FM, and on Twitter at Citi 973.